guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me again and welcome to a new video. Guys, I've been thinking about some hot takes lately and I have a hot take today. The Hermes game is gambling for people who love to spend money and no one's going to convince me otherwise. Now, I can't wait to share my thoughts with you all, but I guess maybe as a sort of introduction, the idea that Hermes shopping is gambling is not anything new. Many people have been saying it for many years. I've said it in YouTube lives before and on this channel as well. But I was thinking more and more that it is gambling, because lately I've noticed like more and more people are saying it's like gambling, it's gambling, but no one's really explaining why it's gambling. And I thought that today we would go through that. And yeah, I can't wait to talk about it with you. It's a hot take. It's not for everyone. The Hermes game is played by everyone who shops at the brand. Even if you claim that you don't buy Birkin and you don't buy things for pre-spending, everyone is playing the Hermes game because we all know very well Hermes does not make its money by selling 3 items. So everyone is playing. The only people who don't play the Hermes game are the people who don't shop from the store. People who only buy from resellers are the only people who are not playing the Hermes game. So one of the things I think that shows that Hermes is a form of gambling is the way that they have gamified their lottery appointments. The best example of this is Paris, but they're also gamifications of it that we see in Tokyo, in Seoul, in the London boutiques. They've been experimenting with giving people leather appointments to offer them non-quota bags. In the Geneva boutique, it's well known that if you queue early enough in the morning, you might be able to see what non-quota bags are available, and then you can take your pick of what's available. It doesn't necessarily mean you get the one you want. And we do know as well in the Mothership store in the US, in New York, they have been also playing around with this idea of, giving people these leather appointments where they can get non-quota bags, but you don't know what's available. It's not like you're sent a list of what's available. But the best example of this is obviously Paris. Like in Paris, this is where we see the lottery and the gamification. Now, for those of you who don't know, to get a quota bag in Paris, allegedly, you needed to win a leather appointment through the online lottery system. So you go on the website and you sign up for a lottery, and they say it is random. They say it's not based on how much you spent. They say it's random based on the system. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I was born at night, just not last night. If you want to believe that, that's fine. I choose not to, but that's for another day. The gamification of the lottery is seen in real time when you go to the store. The people who are the winners, they're the ones who are, whisked away to their appointments in one of the 3 Parisian boutiques. They are treated super warm and super friendly. People are so nice to them. I'm reminded of an experience that Glamazon told me of trying to get a quota bag at one of the boutiques in Paris and being dragged whenever she's asked for cancellations. And the one time she won the lottery appointment, she went in and they were so nice, so warm, so friendly once they realized she was one of the lottery winners. Now, she didn't get a quota bag, so there's that. And it's not a guarantee that she'll get a quota bag at the lottery. But it was really eye-opening to both of us that she was treated with so much warmth and kindness once they realized that she was a lottery winner. So there is this like gamification, right? And the gamification is what kind of keeps everyone on their toes. Just like we always hear about people who win the lottery, we always hear about the lottery winners. You see TikToks and YouTube videos of people who were super successful at the Hermes game, and they're the ones who got the leather appointments. And if you didn't get a leather appointment, you're not going to run to the internet and tell everyone, because the Pegasus unicorns are going to be running in the comments, honey, to let you know that they were the lottery winners. They're the special ones. The Paris lottery system is the best example of the gamification and the casinofication of the Hermes shopping scene, but also the casinofication of luxury shopping. Luxury shopping has become a casino. Okay, it has become this one big massive game. We've also seen this at Louis Vuitton with the way they were allocating the Murakami bags in the first launch last year. It became this huge game, this kind of casino roulette wheel. People wanted to see if their orders would get fulfilled. Would their orders get canceled? Louis Vuitton's taking money, and then it's taking ages for people's parcels, to arrive, and sometimes your order gets canceled. There was a casinofication as well of that. So that's like the best example. I think another example of the similarities between gambling and the Hermes game is the amount of money spent. Now, like I said, a lot of the times whenever people talk about the Hermes game, and when they say it's gambling, many of them don't gamble. I love to gamble. The moment I was 18, one of the first things I did was I went to a casino. Love to gamble. I'm going to be turning 40 this year. And for me, it's so much fun, and it's not like something serious to me. It doesn't affect my life. For me, it's just a lot of fun, and I've been doing it since I was 18. And I can tell you that the amount of money that you see at the casino is eye-watering sums of money. But it's a similar thing at Hermes. The people who spend at Hermes spend in a way that is so high compared to other people. Again, in forums and Facebook groups, you'll hear about people saying how they bought things with low pre-spending. You see this all the time, particularly in forums and message boards pertaining to this. But then actually, when you pay attention to the things that people say, someone will be like, yeah, I didn't really buy anything and I got this quota offer. But actually, they've been shopping at Hermes for 20 years and they've probably spent about 2 million euros at the store. I think that's so disingenuous, but that kind of ties into the way people discuss money. The desensitivity, like the lack of sensitivity, I should say, about money is completely mirrored in the casino scene. People who gamble and who gamble a lot have no sense of how much money costs. I know people who have won like £100,000 gambling. But if you tell them, like, let's go to, Louis Vuitton and go buy a t-shirt that's worth £1,000 or £800, they would just say that's a complete waste of money. Like, I know people who have done that. Okay, so how much do you need to spend to be a top gambler in the casino world? Well, it depends on where you live. The big casino hotspots in the world is Macau is number one without question, Las Vegas, Monte Carlo, but also London. Amsterdam do have big gamblers there too. And also there are rising gamblers who spend a lot in Singapore and Manila as well. But as a general rule, from what I have been told, in order to be seen as a top, like double VIP whale gambler in Las Vegas, your gambling has to be in the millions every single year. Millions and millions of dollars. I think in the UK, you definitely would need to be someone who's gambling like £1 million in a physical casino. There's also the online element, but online gambling is a completely different world. I don't think it's that connected to Hermes, so I don't really want to talk about it for this video. So yeah, you definitely need to be in the millions, like in order to be considered to be a whale. But there are people who are big gamblers and don't spend millions. They probably spend, tens of thousands of pounds every time gambling. And those people are, tens of thousands, maybe playing baccarat or blackjack and so on and so forth. And it's the same thing at Big H, Do you have to spend millions a year at Big H to be a VIP? No, but you definitely have to buy a lot of stuff and buy their top tier stuff. The way casinos treat their VIPs is on another level to luxury brands. The top gamblers are sent private jets to fly them to Macau, to fly them to Vegas and Monte Carlo. They'll put you up in a hotel. They'll pay for it. They'll pay for your spouse, to stay also in a really nice, suite with you, obviously. They'll pay for all kinds of things, but it's very much understood that it's not a free lunch. You have to gamble big numbers, and critically, you have to lose a lot of money in order to be a VIP. You can't gamble a ton and win a lot of money, and then, you are not like, you're not like losing money, because that's how the casino makes money. As they say, Las Vegas was not built on winners. She was built on losers. Another thing that they do in the casino world, which is a very unique thing, is they give you money back. If you have gone on a losing streak, you get a portion of your money back. Now, some casinos will give you 5%, some casinos will give you 10%, some casinos will give you 20% of your losing stake. The casino that I like to gamble at told me recently on my player's card, we can give you 10 to 15% of your losses back. Let's say you went to gamble, let's say you gambled £10,000, but you lost all of the money. At the end, they might be like, okay, we're going to just give you like 1,500 or £1,000 back. Now, that doesn't necessarily help, but It's basically a way for you to continue to come back to gamble. So you see this gamification, right, in the casino world, but you also see the way it is done in the Hermes scene as well, because you see this in the way people discuss the Hermes game. Many people don't want to buy, many people buy bags even that they're afraid not to buy because they don't want to lose access to shopping, at the store. I think it's a similar thing. Like I said, at Big H, there's this way of them treating you. They'll, take the top tier spenders to Fashion Week. They'll invite them to events, but it's very much understood that in order to maintain your VIP status, you have to spend a lot of money. You can call it a relationship if you want. A lot of you will say it's a relationship. It's based on how much money you spend. You're not going to sit here and tell me you were invited to go to Fashion Week and you don't spend hundreds of thousands of pounds, dollars, euros at the boutique every year. Fashion Week invitations are reserved for the top spenders of the brand. It doesn't make financial sense to invite someone who is passionate about the brand but doesn't spend that much money to Fashion Week when they want you to spend money and buy a lot of stuff. Another sign that the Hermes game is like gambling is the front-loaded spending, for sure. Now, when you gamble, and if you like to gamble, if you're someone who really enjoys it, you might enjoy doing high stakes gambling where you put down a big bet and you see where things go. Now, this reminds me of one of the saddest stories I've ever seen at the casino, and it really had an impact on me. When I was in the UK studying, I remember one night, a group of friends, we all went out to a really famous casino in London. It's still in operation. I don't want to name the casino because when I go to London this year, I would like to go there, so I don't want to get in trouble. Go to play roulette. This is European roulette with a single zero. This is American roulette with double zero. American roulette is not played outside of the US. This one will take all of your money much faster than this one. So we go to the roulette wheel with European roulette, the single zero. There's a gentleman there. He has just so many chips. It had to be about 50,000 pounds, 60,000 pounds, something crazy like that. Don't forget, we're uni students, so we're just happy to have a good time, but we're not too worried about it. He starts placing his bets. If those of you who know how roulette works, you know how it works. But for those of you who don't, you have to accurately guess where the ball falls. Will it fall on a number that's red? Will it fall on a number that's black? Will it fall on an even number and an odd number, and so on and so forth? So he puts all of his chips on the table. He's playing and he's losing. He is losing. Sometimes you just have those streaks where it's not your day. It's not your lucky day. Luck and variance play a huge role in gambling. He is losing. And then finally, at this point, he must have lost about 20,000 pounds. And then finally, he's like, I'm going to do one big, massive bet, and I'm going to put it all on red. Meaning he's going to bet that the ball hits a number that's red. So those of you who play roulette, you know how it goes. The croupier takes the ball. She puts it on the wheel, it begins to spin, and it depends, different wheels, it can take a different amount of time, but it's in a few seconds it will hit the number. And of course, because he's having bad luck, it hits green. He lost all of his money. It was a shocking, I was absolutely shocked. The wind was knocked out of my body, because that had to be about 50, 60,000 pounds. He looked devastated. He looked absolutely devastated. One of my friends was telling us, whispering, I hope he doesn't go and do something stupid. And then as he was walking away from the roulette table, we heard him say, that was my life savings. And he was like this, that was my life savings. And I'm thinking, oh my God, why would you take your life savings to the roulette wheel? Roulette has a really tough house edge. That's the money that goes back to the casino. If you play roulette for a long time, eventually the casino will take all of your money. The way to play roulette is to come in, bet quickly, and then leave and hope that it's your lucky day. So why do I share this story with you? The spending in the casino scene mirrors the spending in the Hermes game. We see the big spending at Hermes. Now, obviously at Hermes, if you spend a lot of money, you're probably going to get a quota bag, and it's probably, going to happen. There have been scary stories though of this kind of roulette-ification as well of the Hermes game, where people have spent a ton, they front loaded their spending, and then they still don't get a quota bag. There have absolutely been those experiences as well. So sometimes that makes me feel like, oh my gosh, it really does feel like one big game, because it does feel like a gamble. You're gambling with the SA that they're going to deliver. If you buy, fine jewelry, if you buy a watch, and you buy ready to wear, of course you have to, because those are like the top tier categories. That was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. And that's when I said, wow, the wild spending in the casino is wild. And that's just what I've seen. There are people who've seen way more than that, like people losing £200,000 in a single night at the casino, people losing $1 million in Las Vegas in one night. It happens. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the dark side of the Hermes game. Now that we have really ascertained and we've got it together that Hermes is like gambling, I think that there is a dark side to the Hermes game that we need to talk about more. In all the years of just going to the boutique, shopping, trying to get a quota bag, whatever, but also sharing stories on here and also communicating with you guys, there have been some pretty wild stories. I wanted to name a few wild Hermes game stories that was so crazy to me. The first one is one that was told to me by a Glamazon of someone she knew who was trying to shop in one of the boutiques in New York City and had spent at least 100,000 USD and had never been offered a quota bag. I remember being absolutely stunned that someone could spend 100K and not be offered a quota bag. Now, it was a pretty shocking situation, and we were like, oh my God, what is she going to do? But then eventually, complaints were made, and a complaint was made, and then eventually a quota bag was given to her. But it did kind of highlight that element that it is a slot machine. Now, yes, now this is going to bring the Pegasus unicorns. See, it's a relationship. I mean, I don't know. I think that there's some SAs who are happy to take your money if they think that you're a top spender, but not do their bit. I think one of the craziest things I've ever seen that shows the dark side of the Hermes game was something I saw in Paris a few years ago. I won't say the name of the store because I don't want to get in trouble. So I'll keep the name of the store to myself, but it's one of the 3 Parisian stores. I'm in the store, and I've never mentioned this before because I was worried if I mention it, what if someone from Big H sees this and I get in trouble? But it's been a few years now, because this was like many years ago when I was trying in the beginning, still trying now, by the way. So I'm in the boutique, this specific Big H store, and there's a couple, and they're talking to an SA. The couple, I think, is from the States, and they're speaking to the SA in English, and they are literally begging the SA for like a Birkin or Kelly or a leather appointment. And the SA tells them that they have to go to the leather desk to ask for cancellations, and she cannot help them get a leather appointment. And they were like, can you ask for us? And she was like, no, you have to go there yourself and ask. And it didn't seem to me like they had bought anything, it didn't seem like they had purchased anything. They were just asking. And then at this point, basically I maneuver myself where I can see their facial reactions, and I can see the wife's eyes are becoming red, and they look like they're welling up. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's about to cry in this store. OMG, this is absolutely insane. And then at this point, the husband begins to raise his voice. He's beginning to raise his voice, and he low-key is beginning to shout at the SA. And she very calmly tells him in English, okay, if you continue to shout at me, I'm going to call security and you'll be asked to leave. But as she said that, a security guard came over and asked if everything was okay. I have to say, salute to the security guard who de-escalated the situation. And the SA told him, this couple are trying to get a leather appointment, but I've explained I cannot help them. And now her husband is raising his voice. And then, of course, he's raising his voice saying, I'm not raising my voice. But as he's raising his voice. And then very politely, but in that very French, nice, nasty way, the security guard asked them to leave. I was stunned. I was shocked. I was stunned. I remember going back to the hotel, talking to my husband, and my husband was like, as a man, he shouldn't be raising his voice to a woman. I agree. As a man, you raising your voice to a woman, it's just really terrible. I mean, raising your voice and shouting at a woman over a handbag that no one needs to live. Of course, we all trying to score, no question about it, but still, that was one of the most shocking things that I have personally ever seen at the Hermes store. And I've seen all kinds of, wild things in the boutiques, but that was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. The SA handled it really well. The security guard handled it well. I think that the couple was really embarrassed because at this point people are staring. When the security guard came over, now everyone is staring. Everyone in the store now is looking at you. And basically, before it was escalating, they were really begging her, please, can you help us get it back? And no, I can't help you. Okay, boo-boo, you can't. Can I get a leather appointment? No. It was a shocking moment. I was just stunned. I was shocked. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. It was just one of the most shocking things that I've personally ever seen. And it really highlighted to me that the game creates this kind of anxiety. It creates this kind of insecurity in a lot of people. People become obsessed. And people are so, people get so wound up. And I'm a human being. Of course, even for me, it has been a stressful thing as well, for sure. But people really do become stressed out, and I think that the gamification of it, where it's like the lottery and asking for cancellations and all this stuff, after a while, it takes a toll. And then I think the final thing that was one of the most shocking things to me, that I think is the dark side of the Hermes game, is something I saw a few years ago as well. Someone had left a comment on a social media platform about shopping at Hermes. The person said that basically they became addicted to the Hermes game and they became addicted to shopping at Hermes. This reminds me of gambling addiction. Gambling addiction is seen as a real addiction today, but honestly, when I was younger, I think it was kind of seen as a joke. Like if someone said that they were like a gambling addict, it was kind of like, okay, that's like actually like a pathetic joke. You're like super pathetic, whatever. We have better information today. It is a real addiction. There's a release of dopamine when people are playing games and winning, and that dopamine release is the thing that a lot of addicts chase. Now, let's be very clear. Many people who gamble are not addicts. I love to gamble. I'm not an addict at all. But there are people who are addicts. This person was saying how they literally became addicted to shopping at Hermes. They became addicted to the game. They became addicted to feeling special, feeling important. They said that they were reading the Purse Forum like every single day, multiple times a day, waiting for threads to be refreshed on the Purse Forum. They said that they were on Facebook groups reading every single thing, and it got to a point where it was becoming unhealthy. The person was neglecting her marriage. The person was neglecting, children, family relationships. It was becoming an addiction. And then to boot, the quota bags were also not coming. So that makes it worse. So that kind of reinforces it being an addiction, because the one thing that you're trying to get, the quota bag, isn't coming. So it's like over and over again, you become addicted. I was reading this comment. I was like, wow, I just was like, wow, I hope the person's okay. And then eventually they had to stop shopping at Hermes because they couldn't do it in moderation. They couldn't enjoy Big H in moderation. They became obsessed with the quota bag Hermes game. They became obsessed with feeling special because they were chosen to have a quota bag. They became obsessed with, knowing all the stuff about what goes on at Big H, and it became an obsession. And then they, for example, they neglected shopping at other brands. So then when they stopped shopping at Hermes, the person was saying how she went to Louis Vuitton to try and build a relationship, and then she was kind of dragged, and then she had a bust up there being like, well, at Hermes I'm a top client. It's like, hey, well, Louis Vuitton's not Hermes, we don't care. So it just kind of made me feel like, wow, there is a dark side to the Hermes game. And this is a lot of stuff that people don't talk about, because all you hear about is the big shiny success stories at Big H. The same way in the gambling space, you only hear about the people who win a ton of money. You don't hear about the people who lose a lot of money. You don't hear about the people who go bankrupt. That has happened. You don't hear about the people who get divorced because they're gambling addicts. That absolutely happens. Like I said, even me, I didn't know it was a real addiction until a few years ago, honestly, when I also started to educate myself, because it's always just been a fun time for me. So what do we kind of learn from the fact that the Hermes game is a casino, honey? It is a slot machine. It's a roulette wheel. It's baccarat. I think the key thing to understand here is all good things in moderation. If you're someone who has an addictive personality, I think the Hermes game is something that you should be wary of and you should be able to control. But I think also something which I suggest pertaining to the big H stuff is like other brands. I don't really understand the way Big H is put on this massive pedestal as if it's better than Louis Vuitton, better than Chanel. I remember seeing an influencer like talking down on Louis Vuitton and like putting Big H up and talking down on LV. And I'm just like, but Louis Vuitton is lit. Louis Vuitton is fire. Like, you're not going to sit here and tell me Louis Vuitton's monogram wig isn't fire, because it is. And I think that is also something that can help to kind of decrease the gamification. If you only shop at Hermes, you are going to fall into the Hermes game and you're going to be seeing it as a slot machine. But if you shop at other brands, you'll see that there are normal shopping experiences where there are no games, you don't have to play games, you don't have to buy Birkin, you don't have to do all of these other things as well. You know, I think it's easy to call everything an addiction. You know, I'm not a mental health professional and I'm not an addiction specialist, so I'm not going to be the one to tell people if they're addicted to something. I think the key thing, if something is unhealthy, is if it's affecting your personal life, it's affecting, you know, your finances, it's affecting your family, your partner, your husband, boyfriend, so on and so forth, your children. Yeah, then maybe you do have a problem and you should seek help. But, you know, are people addicted to Big H? I mean, I don't know. Are you addicted to shopping are you addicted to watching Netflix? I'm not a massive Netflix person. I like watching cable because I like watching like Animal Planet, Discovery and stuff like that. But are you addicted, you know, to Netflix? There are people who watch Netflix every single day without taking a break. Does that mean that they're addicted? No, I don't think so. I think that we all need to take accountability and ownership for ourselves, and also understand that it's just luxury shopping. It's not meant to take over your life. So I think that by being authentic and transparent with all of the stories, it helps to make things feel more realistic. Because I think on a lot of forums, you'll see things like, I don't count how much I spent. You know, it's the same thing. You see this all the time. I'm happy to say gamblers are not really like this. Most people who gamble know how much they've gambled in a year or in a month. People have an idea. I know, for example, and you know, just for the sake of transparency, I don't mind sharing numbers because I think numbers help us to understand things. I think the most I've ever done in a month, I think was like last year. I think it was 1 month where it was like 18 bands in a month. You know, but I have a friend who's done 20 times that, and her husband live in Japan where gambling's banned, so they go to other like cities and countries in Asia where gambling is legal, and they gamble there. So I did 18 bands in euros, but she did 20 times what I did in euros in a month. So there's always someone who can do more than you and can go to a much bigger level than you. And 18 for me is a lot, but there are a lot of people who take 18 bands in euros and they put that on one single hand of baccarat. Baccarat is a card game. It looks like this, and basically it's two hands, the player, the banker. You have to figure out which hand has the higher weighted cards, basically, which cards are worth more. There's some people who can take 18 bands in euros and put it on a single hand of baccarat. That's what I did in a month. And that was like a lot for me. And that was like 1 month last year. That was like the most I did. So I think it's important to understand that there's always someone who can do more than you, and just focus on yourself and understand that when it pertains to the MS game, the amount of people who don't share the dark side and those horrible stories that I've just shared here, there's so many of them. People want to pretend that they don't buy anything, but they're always at the store, and Big H is the only luxury brand that they shop at. You see this with a lot of Big H people. They'll be like, oh, I just shop at Big H because Big H is the #1 brand. But somehow you never buy anything, but Big H is the only brand that you shop from. So I just wanted to bring that up to you guys. The Hermes game is definitely a casino. It's definitely a slot machine, but it is voluntary. And understand that people are not going to share the dark side and the dark stories because they don't want to seem like they're not special. There's something about the way the Hermes game is played that makes people feel like they're special because they were chosen to get a quota bag. And that's why people hide their pre-spending, because they want to feel special and more important than you who spent more. That's my theory when it pertains to all of this. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Tell me what you think about this one. This is a hot take. I just had to get my thoughts out. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm sorry for the noise. They're like some men who are fixing something in the attic. Please stick around. Sign up to the newsletter. And by the way, for those of you in the newsletter, some of you have said that you can't see the newsletter. You need to check your spam folder, you guys. The newsletter is going out to every single person. Check your spam folder. Check your spam folder because the newsletter is probably there, just waiting to be read. So yeah, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Sign up for the newsletter. Facebook groups link below. God bless you all. I'll see you in my next video. I'm out.